You are listening to Daily Beats. Daily Beats Productions. Daily Beats Productions. You are listening to Daily Beats. Daily Beats Productions. You are listening to Daily Beats. Daily Beats Productions. Daily Beats Productions. Daily Beats Productions. You are listening to Daily Beats. Daily Beats Productions. Daily Beats Productions. You are listening to Daily Beats.
What up, YouTube? Welcome to another live stream here at Daily Beats. Today is another instance of the producer show, and I have a couple of questions already prepared here to answer. And welcome if you are joining here the live stream. If you are joining, you can leave just a hi in the chat so that I know that you are here. and that we can communicate and you can ask your questions. So we have another instance of the live stream, and there's a couple of news that I want to share with you. First of all, there's, as you know, I usually speak about magazines and stuff. So there's a new magazine that I bought today, and this is The Beat magazine. Is dedicated more for music producers that work with DAWs. It's not just musical instruments and stuff like that, like Music Magazine or Tech Magazine, something like that. I think there's another magazine for that. And this one is in German, but there's an issue of this magazine in English, and I think it costs like €4 or €5. So it's a very inexpensive magazine. And today they released a couple of really cool plugins from Sound Analog or Analog something. Let me see if they have here the name. Yeah, they don't, but it's like six or seven or maybe five or six analog plugins, and they sound cool. I have not yet tested them all, but I'm going to use some of them in vocals. That's my main purpose for these plugins, and there's a bunch of sounds here that I really enjoy. There's a sample pack with 5 gigabytes of vocals, which is really, really cool. And as you can see, you can get those very, very cheaply. You can get like 6 analog plugins plus a sampler, which is a virtual instrument, with a sample pack or a sound bank with another like 1 gigabyte plus 5 gigabytes of vocals, plus another 5 maybe or maybe 2 gigabytes of samples. So a lot of material for only €5. And by the way, this is not sponsored. I just like to buy these magazines. I have a bunch of them since I came to Germany. I started buying all of these magazines, and I think I have not skipped a month. And I think I'm going to keep buying, even though sometimes I don't enjoy too much of the samples or the plugins that they send. But I got already a bunch of value from this magazine just by the plugins that they offer, and some of the sample packs and some sound banks that they offer. So it's a really cool way for you to increase your sound library and your plugin library for very cheap money every single month, and also to stay updated with the news, what's going on in the music industry. You have some interviews also, which is really cool to get to know other producers and their methodology and their way of work. So with that out of the way, I would like to say that I'm going to be doing these live streams every Saturday at around 6 p.m. GMT +2, which is the Berlin time. So I'm located in Stuttgart, Germany, and this is the time that I'm at. And you can search on Google to see the different time zone compared to yours. You can just search for Germany, Stuttgart, Germany time zone or something like that, compare with yours, and you see the difference. And I have a link in the description so that you can subscribe to the newsletter. And in this newsletter, I will be sending every Friday or so an email where you can post your questions, and every question that comes from the newsletter will have a higher priority here. So if you come in and join the live stream and put some questions in the chat, if it's a big question, I will not be able to answer as normal as I do here with the questions that I have prepared. But if you want your questions answered with a really good or with some more time into it, you can join the live stream or the newsletter, and then you will be receiving some forms that you can post your questions there, and you can post multiple questions so that you have a possibility to have a lot of questions answered. And I think that's it in terms of announcements. So there's another announcement here that I would like to talk about, which is the new FL Studio update. So as you guys know, or if you don't know, FL Studio is a really cool DAW. It's one of the top DAWs nowadays, and it has free lifetime updates. So this is one of the reasons why I love this DAW so much. First, it's because of the workflow to make beats. I really enjoy it. I'm very used to it, and I I'm very fast working with FL Studio, and the quality nowadays is indistinguishable from the other DAWs. And the cool thing is that you have free lifetime updates. So you buy a version of FL Studio, and every time you come, there's a new version, you will get a free update. And I don't think there's any other company doing that today in the industry. So I have to congratulate ImageLine for that. And I think it's for me, it's the most compelling factor by buying this software or having the full version of FL Studio like I have. Was every time that something comes out that I want or that I think it could benefit me, I'm like, I don't even think twice in buying, because ImageLine always provides some really cool software with, and the free lifetime updates is just amazing. And again, I'm not sponsored by them. I just love the software, and I always promote the software here. And yeah, so let's take a look at the video that they shared. And we can go ahead and take a look and see the new features that we have for FL Studio 8. Let me see. 20.8.4. So yeah, it's been a long ride. I think I've been with FL Studio since version 7, I guess. I'm not sure. At least the first version that I installed on a computer. And yeah, let's go ahead and switch to. Here I have a tab already open. So this is what's new in the new release. So I have here both the video and also the post in ImageLine forum. And let's see. So we have Apple Silicon support. This is cool, but I don't own an Apple, or a Macintosh, so I'm not worried too much about this. There's some improvements here in 3x oscillator, especially added anti-aliasing to oscillators. This is cool, but to be honest, I only use 3x oscillator for basses, so I never had too much problem with this. But we can hear. Let's see if I can hear. Yeah, let's hear this part here.
3x OSC, long awaited. 3x OSC has now been updated to feature state-of-the-art anti-aliasing for the oscillators.
So you see this sweep. Every time that this sweep was happening, you got some crackling, and this was the anti-aliasing issues that we had. And I think now it's way better. Let's listen to the improved version.
Running into bad artifacts and rumble from aliasing? Simply turn on the HQ button here and never lose sleep over this again.
As you can see, this is really cool. And I think, I don't know if this will change too much in terms of the CPU load. So let's see. Let's see if I bring 3x oscillator and I put this in, let's see, let's play some chords. Let's put here some. So we have kind of 2 dBs or two points there. Yeah, it increased a little bit maybe, but I mean, I would assume that this HQ would always be enabled by default. At least that would be my recommendation, or my not recommendation, but my tip to ImageLine is to leave the HQ always on, to have these as always on. And if people have issues with performance, they can go and turn it off. But I would recommend to put these always on. But I don't know, maybe there's some other things under the surface that they put that as off. Then we have frequency splitter, and I think this is a new plugin. I'm not sure. Let's see here, frequency splitter. I think the frequency splitter already came in a previous version. So yeah, they didn't even mention here the frequency splitter. So this is a plugin that came already in a lower update. So another updates on the control surface. I don't use it. Toolbar to set the language, so I don't use that also. And also there's a new feature here in Edison. And I didn't know this about right click, which is really, really cool. It's a thing that I noticed and that I've learned in the video, is that now every time you have a menu like this, so I used to go here. Let's say that I wanted to change the scaling here, or the highlighting of the scale. I would go here, go to view, scale highlighting, and then I would put like, I don't know, maybe E. And then I would go out and then go again. And I thought this was a little bit annoying, because if I wanted to put major, and now I was like, okay, now I want to change again to a minor scale. So I was like, okay, going here and then clicking, and then it was a little bit of waste of time. So now what I've learned is that instead of clicking on the left button in the mouse, you can right click, and you will not lose the focus of this menu, which is really, really amazing. So let's say that now instead of left clicking, I will right click. So you see that this changes, and it does not remove the menu, which is amazing. And I think they added this also to Edison, which is really cool. But I think it's a cool feature that I was not aware of this, and maybe you were not aware either. So this is a cool feature that you might want to start using in your day-to-day workflow. And I really like this because I can change from whatever root node I have, and also the scale, without having to go every time to the menu, view, and scale highlighting and so on, because there's no shortcuts for this. So I would always have to do this manually. So this is a really cool feature that they added here. Let's see what else. Piano roll added an option to preview notes as they are mouse clicked in the piano roll during playback. So I think there's an option somewhere. Let's see in the video. Piano roll here.
There is a new piano roll option. Preview notes during playback will let you preview notes as they are mouse clicked into the piano roll during playback.
I think this is a cool feature. I don't know, to be honest. I have to see if I would take advantage of this, but basically we have here the preview notes during playback menu, which we can enable, and we can put notes automatically and play them while we are in preview mode. But I usually have my keyboard, so I don't know. I nowadays I only work with my keyboard, so I'm not sure if I will be using this too much. Then we have Maximus Limiter, add a menu option to disable the 0.2 safety margin. I don't know if I wanted this, but yeah. Recording, and then MIDI settings, some improvements on the Z-Game Editor visualizer, and playlist. Okay. MIDI scripting, patcher, added Control-C, Control-V to copy and paste, increased brightness of volume. Yeah, so these are some improvements. It's not like big changes, but I think they added a new plugin. Yeah, which is, it's here, the frequency shifter. I think they have the splitter and also the shifter. So let's take a look at the shifter.
Frequency shifter.
So what this is doing is adding some type of LFO effect to the frequency pitch. I'm not sure if it's the pitch or if it's only like a filter to the frequency. Let's listen.
Unlike a traditional pitch shifter that maintains harmonic relationships, frequency shifter moves all frequencies in the audio by a fixed amount.
So some really cool effects that we can grab from this new version of FL Studio. The main one that I really enjoy was the fact that I learned that we could use right click, which is really cool. And I'm really looking forward to using this one or internalizing this in my workflow. So I think that's it. again, this is not a sponsored video by ImageLine or whatever. I just like to use this DAW, and it's my main DAW. And I think it's amazing that they offer free lifetime updates. And if that doesn't sell FL Studio to you, I don't know what will. What will. So let's go back and let's see what we have here. So I see there are some people here in the live stream. So let me know if you are here. Say hi in the chat so that we can have a communication. And if you have any questions about music production, today I can speak English. If you have any questions about music production, you can leave them in the chat and I will do my best to answer them. So we already talked about the new update. So let's talk about some of the questions that I have here. Let's see, the advanced field. So what is the advanced field? We have a nice feature here in FL Studio. Let me bring a hi-hat because hi-hats are cool and they are not very aggressive. Let's use this one. And there's a cool feature here that helps us to do some cool effects. And let's see if I can go here. No, I don't think that's here, only in the piano roll, which is, where is it? Advanced field should be somewhere around here. Where is the advanced field? I don't even know where is it right now. Here, advanced field. I knew it was here because it makes sense to not be inside of piano roll. But let's go to the advanced fill. And what this will do is automatically fill stuff for us. One of the things that I really like about FL Studio is the possibility to do fill each 2 steps, 4 steps, 8 steps. So this is really helpful when you are making, by the way, let me switch to FL Studio. Yeah, so as you can see, we have fill each 2 steps, 4 steps, and 8 steps. And this really helps us speed up our workflow when we are working here in the channel rack. But one thing that we can do is go to, if we want to get more options besides these 3 options of 2, 4, and 8 steps, we can go to the advanced fill. And this gives us a really cool wheel that we can start adding new points. So let's say that I want to add, instead of 4, I want to have 5. So let's put 5. And you see that actually this is the interval. It's 4. Let's do that. So 2, 4, 5, 6. I don't think that we can do like just 5 notes. Yeah, this gives us the interval and the sequence length. So if I want to increase these to 32, like so, then we have 2 bars. And if I hit play, you see that we can get some really cool effects. We can also change, for instance, here the timing. And this is really cool because it helps us to just move the timing that we want, and gives us some tools to move around things here. So let's put this back in position like that, and we can randomize this. So instead of having like those, we have this, and it will change pretty much the interval. And as you can see, this randomizes the interval, and we can have here some manual fill type. So here we can say that we can go and put like so. This was the option that I was looking for if we wanted to do like 5 only. And so this really helps us to speed up the things. And let's do Euclidean. And this is really cool for offbeat type of rhythms. And we can go more like this. So as you can see, it can really gives us some really cool effects or really cool patterns that we would have to do it manually, we can just go here, put the step count that we want, and say OK, and then accept. And then we have our rhythm as we had. So if you were to add a clap or here, and for instance, this one we could do each 8 steps, and then Shift Alt, Control and Shift, and move to the right, and maybe a little bit less speed. So as you can see, it's really easy for us to create some really cool patterns here in the channel rack without too much effort. So that's it for the advanced fill. Is a really cool feature, or a really cool feature that we have in FL Studio. So let's go ahead and move to the next question. So the next question is, it's really nice. I think I've talked about this in the last live stream, which is explain the full fruity multiband compressor. So we talked about compression a lot, and I've talked about compression a lot, and it's one of the most elusive concepts to get in music production. It's not really easy to get compression, and it takes a while, but after a little bit, after reading, I want to say reading a lot, but after understanding, watching some of tutorials and practicing mixing and mostly mixing and mastering, you will start to get a better understanding of compression. So let's go into multiband compression and see what is all about. So let's go here. We have a dynamic section and fruity multiband compressor. So basically a compressor, a normal compressor, if we go here and go to this basic compressor, what we usually have is, let me take this off just so that we don't have too much distractions. What we usually have is we have a compressor will have a threshold, a ratio, a gain, an attack, release, and a type of compression. And in this case, the type might not be there, but you will most likely have a threshold, a ratio, an attack and release, and a gain. So these are the 5 most common parameters in a compressor. You might find some more, and you might find some that you don't have. For instance, you might not have a direct button for attack and release, and you might not have a ratio. For instance, in the in the CA2A, for instance, we don't have a ratio here. As you can see, we have a gain knob and a peak reduction knob. So this is kind of like the amount that we feed into the compressor, and here would be the reduction that we have. So, and then we have here some other options. So there are different types of compressors, but in the most general case, you will find a threshold, a ratio, an output, gain, attack, and release. And if we go into the multiband compressor, we have basically 3 bands of, or three of the same compressors spread out in bands through the audio spectrum. So if we look at the compression for low band, or the compressor for low band, we have threshold, ratio, attack, release, and gain. We also have here the knee, and I will not touch the knee, but if you think about compression, we will have threshold, ratio, attack, release, and gain. And if we look at the low band, mid band, and high band, we have pretty much the same knobs. Then we have these buttons here, which is the low band state is on. We can have it muted, or we can have it bypassed. So let's say that we want to have that we just want to compress the higher frequencies. What we will do is bypass both mid and lows and just compress the highs. And we can do the opposite. We can just compress the mids and highs and just compress the lows. So we can, with these buttons here, we can pretty much compress whatever we want. We can also mute a specific band. So we have now plugins to do that. We have the plugin that I talked about, which is the splitter. let's go here. Let me find the splitter, frequency splitter. This is the new plugin that I talked about in the beginning of the live stream. And you can see that we have 3 bands. And this basically splits the frequency range that we have from 20 to 22K. I think that should be 22 or 20K here. What we have is 3 bands. And basically what we have here, if we look into the multiband compressor here, is that we have low band, mid band, and high band. And if we look at here at the division of the bands, you will see that it's very similar to the division here that we have in the splitter. So I think the splitter is basically just an extraction of this algorithm that we have here, or the crossovers that we have here, both on the multiband compressor and also on Maximus. But yeah, then we have, so we can set, we will have a compression just for a specific band, or a compressor just for a specific band. So let's say that we want to mute everything and just add compressor and listen to only the mid frequencies. We would mute the low and high and just apply compressor to the mid band. And we can also have a splitter with this plugin. So let's say that we just want to listen to the mid band. We would bypass the compressor and mute all the high and low bands and just get the mid band. So this is a really cool way for us to manipulate in different ways, or have a splitter also with a multiband compressor. But that's not the point. I was just wanted to give you an idea of the buttons here at the top. And then we have here, so this tells us where the crossover will happen. So this will give us the frequency at which the low band compressor will actuate. So, or the range, it will go from 22, and if we look here at the hint panel, it will go from 22 to 57 Hertz. And the same goes for here, for the mid band, it will go from 300 to 9.9K. And the high band will go from 9.2K up to 20K. So this is what we can do. And let's go ahead and bring a loop just for the sake of listening to some compression here so that you can see what I was talking about. Let's bring a generic FL Studio loop. Let's bring the speed down. Okay, so now let me go here, bring the volume also a little bit down so that this doesn't blast our ears. I think the volume is okay. Let's unmute all the other plugins so that there's no effect here. And now if I hit play and start messing around here with the buttons, you see now I only have the compressor for the high band, and I could bypass the compressor or mute everything. And let's do A, which is on. And let's do the same thing here for the mid band. So this is the mid band, and we could do also for the low band. So this could work also as a splitter. But let's go now and see what are these parameters here. As you can see, we have here input. If we right click, if we left click, it shows us the output. So this is helpful for us to see the input and output, and if we need to add some gain to match the input volume, or decrease or increase. It depends on the case. But let's see. Let's take the ratio. Let's take the knee. Let's put the knee at 0%. Let's take all the compression from this, and let's bring this as the default so that there's no effect here in the frequencies. And let's mute the other ones. And if I do this, let's put a ratio of maybe 3:1. And then when we start decreasing the threshold, we start seeing some here. The C stands for compression, and this is how much compression we are seeing. Unfortunately, there's no way to visually see how much compression we get. So we have to go here, put the cursor over to the point there, and then look at the hint panel. This will tell us pretty much that at this point we have minus 7.8 dB of compression, more or less. So I would say that we have a lot of compression at this point. And we can see now the beginning. And let's put now the output. And the output is a little bit low, so we could add a little bit of gain. Okay, and we can see also here that the reddish line, it's probably the compressed line, so we can add a little bit of gain, and we have pretty much the same input and output. Let's go to this one, let's mute that one, and we could do the same thing here. Just change the ratio, and let's put also a ratio like this, and we can also do a little bit of gain, and you can see pretty much the difference, what is happening from the beginning, from the input, which is that line, the purple line, and then the red line is the compressed line. So let's go now to the high band, and let's apply some compression. Let's change the ratio, and let's now take everything and let's see how does this sound. So this helps us to add compression to different bands of the spectrum, and this is really cool, and we can really change stuff here. We have also some presets that we can take a look and work with, and there's also this IIR or FEAR. This is infinite impulse response, and this is finite impulse response. So this determines what type of filters will be used for the crossovers here. And we can also add some limiter just to clip the output so that we don't get above 0 dB. So I think that's it for a brief introduction to multiband compressor, to the Fruity multiband compressor. Basically, this tells us here, it shows us the compression signal, the input and output, and then we have here the filters where we can change the crossover sections or frequencies. Then we can apply the normal compressor presets or knobs, settings, probably that's the best word, and we can change the settings here for every single band. We can enable, mute, and bypass the band or the compressor, and that will help us achieve the desired goal that we want or that we have when we want to apply multiband compressor. I think this is a really cool thing to learn and to try out, experiment. One of the ways I use multiband compressor is in my mixes. Every mix I have a multiband compressor or maybe two, and also in my mastering. In my mastering I might have this one here, the multiband. When I'm mastering, I like to use the linear phase multiband stereo. This is a plugin from Waves, and I really like this plugin for mastering because it gives us some linear phase, so it doesn't mess around with the phase, and that's very important in the mastering section or session. And as you can see, we have threshold, gain, range, attack, and release. The five maybe not the range, but this would be maybe a ratio, but the five, or at least these four, threshold, gain, attack, and release, we can pretty much assume that we will have this type of parameters. Okay, so let's go now to the next question, and I still have here 3 questions to answer. And the next question is, what is Soundgoodizer? So Soundgoodizer is a really cool plugin that, to be honest, I don't use it too much in my productions, but I think I have to start messing around with it a little bit more. So let's go to FL Studio so that I can show you what is Soundgoodizer and where to find it. So let's go here. And Soundgoodizer, basically, it's under compression. or dynamics, Soundgoodizer here. And if I go to the manual, actually I don't have it here. Let me open the menu. And this tells me that Soundgoodizer is a stereo maximizer enhancer plugin. So what this does is basically just does some stereo processing and does some enhancement of the processing. And this is based on the Maximus plugin. So it's a really cool plugin to use. And basically this gives us some distortion to the track. So let's bring another loop that we have here. Maybe not a loop from the mode audio. I can show you some of the new loops from the Beat magazine that I showed you today. This magazine that I bought here, this one that I bought online here today. And there's a couple of nice piano loops, maybe here, let's see. So let's use this one. I don't know if this will sound cool or not, but 120, stretch this out. Let me maybe lower the volume here because this is a little bit loud. And also we have the Soundgoodizer. So this is how it sounds without anything. And let's start adding some Soundgoodizer. Let's take it out. So what this does is, as you can hear, it makes it more, it applies something to the stereo signal. It kind of, I feel it applies some compression to the stereo side and brings it up a little bit, at least in this preset A. Of course, it also gives us some volume. So let's try to compensate for the volume so that we see what's really happening here. Let's go to gain, Panomatic, and let's have this enabled to the fullest, and let's bring the volume down so that we can match the input and output. So the input is around 15, and when we apply Soundgoodizer, it goes very loud. Maybe a little bit less. I think that sounds cool. Let's take out all. So what I would assume this does is it takes the stereo side and just gives it a little bit of compression and a little bit more volume. It makes the sound a little bit more stereo. Let's see now the other ones, the B and C and D. This one doesn't do such an aggressive as A. This A also makes it feel like it's doing like a top shelf, and it's making the stereo side more bright. The B1 doesn't do that much. But it increases the stereo component. This one is way louder. Let's see D. As you can see, this one is a little bit louder. It makes it sound a little bit louder. So I think this is a really cool plugin if you want to do some stereo enhancement to your tracks or to your samples. If you feel that the sample is a little bit mono and you want to bring up a little bit of the sides or the stereo width of the sample, you can use Soundgoodizer to make it sound a little bit more stereo and to help it in the stereo field, make it more interesting in the stereo. And excuse me, and you can use one of these. So I would assume this A kind of brings a little bit more of the high frequencies. So it kind of feels like it has a top shelf, maybe from 6K up, maybe a little bit higher. And then the other ones, I don't know. It's I don't know if they have focus on the higher frequencies, but yeah, I think Soundgoodizer is a cool plugin, and I have to start using it more. One plugin that comes to mind that kinda works the same way is one that I really like to use from Waves, which is Vitamin Stereo. It's not really the same, but it kind of reminds me of Vitamin Stereo. So if I take this out, one thing that I can do here in the Vitamin Stereo is I can bring up a little bit of the stereo side. And I can make some of these parts here a little bit louder, and I can put them more stereo. So I can make them mono. If I do all this, I will make the sound mono. And what I can do is leave the low frequencies mono and start increasing the high frequencies and make them a little bit more stereo. Oops. As you can see, this is a big difference. So I really like this plugin. It kind of reminds me, the Soundgoodizer kind of reminds me of that. But in a sense, this is a little bit, it gives us a little bit more control over everything, like in terms of how stereo we want the bands to be and how loud we want them to be. So I think this could be a somewhat comparison between Soundgoodizer or what Soundgoodizer is doing and this Vitamin plugin here. And I really like this plugin from Waves. And as you can see, this is kind of doing the same. So if you don't have this Vitamin Stereo, you can use Soundgoodizer to do, in a way, to kind of simulate that effect. And I think that's it for this question. I have another question next up, which is really, really cool. And by the way, before I go into the next question, I would like to say that I will be doing these live streams every Saturday at around 6 p.m. GMT +2, which is the Berlin time. And I will have also a link in the description so that you can subscribe to the newsletter, so that you can receive some of the emails for the live stream, and you will have a form where you can post your questions and have them answered here in the live stream. So let's go ahead and go to the next question, which is how to make guitars sound more interesting. So this is a cool question, and sometimes, how can I say? I don't want to say tricky, but for instance, let's go here to Flex. Flex has now some really cool guitar presets that I really, really enjoy. But sometimes we have these presets and they don't sound like actual guitars. So what we can do here is, let's go and select electric guitar. So we already have some effects here. So let's take the delay, reverb, and the master filter. Still has some... So this is the cleanest one that we would get. Let's do some chords here. Maybe let's switch these to C. Let's do minor pentatonic. This could work. Let's do something like this. Let's make it a little bit slower. And let's make these, let's do some type of arpeggio like this. And let's go here, maybe there. Okay, I like this chord progression. So what I would do to make this sound a little bit more interesting, let me lower the volume here a little bit. What I would do is adding some plugins. So there are a couple of plugins or options that we could use. One of my favorite is actually Isotope Trash here, Trash 2. Why? And I will show you why. Because we have some convolve here. This part of the plugin I really like, because as you can see we have this amp section, and this amp section makes the gives us some convolution that we can use to create or make this as going through, make this sound as if it was going through an amplifier. So let's go and play around with some of these presets so that we can get an idea of what this will do to our guitars. So this already made a big difference. As you can see, we can simulate some amplifiers like this Lincoln Standard or whatever amplifiers we've seen. Let's go with this one. And we can get some really cool different vibes for the guitars. So one way I would say is to use some type of guitar amp. We have this amp here. If you don't have the Trash 2, we can use maybe some plugins that we have in the native from FL Studio. And for instance, I would use this hardcore here. And this one gives us some really cool presets. So let's make this the default one, or empty. Do we have an empty one? Maybe not. No, we don't. Okay, so let's take them out. So this is the normal guitar sound. So we could add some distortion, chorus. We have all these plugins, and this kind of simulate a guitar pedal. So we could use some type of guitar pedals to try to simulate, to give the guitar a little bit more natural vibe. So let's add maybe some distortion plugin, and let's play around here. And actually we have to enable this too loud. One of the problems of these plugins is that it makes it very, very loud. So we can add some distortion here. Let's make it a little bit less. Okay. Let's see this combo filter. Okay, I kind of like that. We could add maybe some chorus. Let's take the width a little bit. And we can also add some reverb. And maybe we can also add a drive. And we can also add some phasing. Let's do... And we can still add some EQ to make sure that we, for instance, we can make it more mid. We can remove the mids a little bit. remove the low end. And maybe let's remove a little bit of the high frequencies here. Maybe add a touch of mids. And we can also change the cabinet model. Kind of like this one. As you can see, this is a really cool effect. This was the original. Very simple. And we give it some interest, or we give it some effects to make it sound a little bit more interesting. Another option would be to use some type of guitar amp. I have this pack here from Waves, also called a guitar, and I like to use this amp stereo. And I think I don't have an analogy. Basically, what I would say, which is similar, is this hardcore here plugin in native FL Studio plugins. But yeah, I don't think I have anything else in terms of distortion, like amp distortion. No, I don't think so. In terms of FL Studio, the one closest would be the hardcore. But let's go through some presets here. Excuse me, some presets to listen, and let's see what we can come up with. Let's see direct amp. So as you can see, automatically gave it already some really cool vibe, a different vibe. Let me bring the volume down. And now this is just a matter of going through if we want to have them more overdrive. If we want some crushing or modern amp, let's see this one. A little bit more aggressive. Let's see this cream. So then would be more a little bit to the taste of the track that you are producing. But this, I would say this is my go-to when I want to make guitar sound more interesting and more realistic. Is I start with a clean preset, and then I go and I apply some distortion plugin, either with this amp simulation. It could be this Waves guitar or Waves amplifier from GTR. It could be also Isotope Trash 2, which has the convolver. That it's really cool to add some what is it? Some convolution here to make the amps, especially in the amp section, or use the hardcore here. And I think there's also another way to do this. Let me see here in the reverb convolver. I think the convolver has some presets also for guitar. So let me see if we could simulate stuff like this. So cabinet here, guitar cabinet. So we could simulate some guitar cabinets. Let me see here without. So if you don't have hardcore, which I think it's only to the highest version of FL Studio, you could start with Fruity Convolver and then start adding some compression. It will take a little bit more time to achieve the same result, but you can get there through some means like this. So start with some impulse here, convolution with convolver. We have luckily some guitar cabinets, and then you can go ahead and add some. So let's say here in the hardcore, we added some distortion, chorus, reverb, drive, and phaser. I'm not sure about tube drive, but we have distortion like this. We have chorus, reverb, and phaser. So we have all these plugins available here in FL Studio. So if you go here, we have reverb, we have distortion, and we have a phaser here. So we could, in a way, replicate the same plugins. If you don't have this option to use this plugin here, you could just simply try to replicate the same thing. Maybe let's do less, maybe a little bit more here. As you can see, it's a little bit this process that I go through whenever I want to make my guitars a little bit more interesting. So I think that's it. It's already 7 o'clock and I still have another question here that I would like to answer. And this one I will try to make it quick, but I really like this. This it's not a plugin that I use a lot. And basically the question is, what is EQ? And this is not a plugin that I use a lot, but I was searching for this question and I really enjoy the plugin. So I think I'm going to start using this a little bit more in my production. So let's jump into FL Studio so that I can show you what is Q. And Q is basically located in filters and EQ here. And is this plugin? It's a really cool, simple plugin. But it has some features that I really like. And one of them that I want to show you is basically this one here. So let me bring one of my beats. And I have here a beat, our last beat that I publish. It's called Slight Movement. And this is the mix version of the beat. So let's go maybe to this section here. And let's listen. And as you can hear, it sounds okay, but now let's click on Analyze here, and you will see the effect that it has. So this button here is one that I want to start with. This will analyze all the incoming audio and try to make it flat, but only from 40 hertz up. But let's try to see what's going on here. Let's hit play and then click on Analyze. So what's happening here? Okay, so I have to put this on track 1. And by the way, this will analyze while you have it clicked. So you cannot click once and leave it. You have to click and hold, and it will analyze the audio and make sure that whatever you are listening to, it will try to apply an EQ curve to make it flat. So let's try to see. First of all, let me show you what this beat looks like in terms of phase relation or the spectrum relation. Let's go metering. Where is Pass Analyzer? If I hit play, you see that I have this curve here. So it's kind of very strong in the low frequencies and then goes down. And if I do the analyze here while it's playing, so it's analyzing here, as you can see, this is taking the frequencies, and if I leave it, you can see that this basically counter, what's the word that I'm looking for? Counter EQ'd the balance that I had, or this curve here, as you can see. It took this curve or these frequencies here and basically applied an EQ to counter that this response and make it as flat as possible. So as you can see now, it's way more flat than it was before. So if I do, let me see if I can save this. Yeah, and so as you can see now, it's way more flat. So what this tries to do is tries to combat the curve that we had before and makes it a little bit more flat. So if you are looking for something to make your sounds flat, this is a great tool. You can go here, click on Analyze, and it will try to analyze the frequencies and make it as flat as possible. And then you have this mix button here. And if I do it, it will do the opposite. It will make the bass way more prominent and decrease the high frequencies. And if I put this at 0, basically we have no effect, and this is the maximum. So if you want to, actually this is I think it's a great tool to use or to test in my mastering sessions. Whenever I have a track and I want to make it kind of flat or try to see if flatter would sound nice, this could be a cool option for that. Try to analyze the audio and then move here the mix knob to try to make the track a little bit more flat and to see if it sounds cool in the speakers or not. I don't know, this is just an idea that I have that I probably will test out. I'm not sure if that will be the best case scenario to use this in the master, but it's something that you can actually do to try to make your tracks a little bit flat. And then we have this shift here, and basically the shift allows us to shift the frequencies. So as you can see, let's put this at 0. If I have this band here, if I move this around, you see that the starting point is shifting. So this will take the EQ curve that we have and shift it to the right or to the left. As you can see, this is the shift option. We have here the morph, which basically takes it or basically removes the effect. Then we have some smooth and the volume. So this is what this Analyze button does. But if we want to reset this, what we can do is click on Alt and click on all the whatever you click on the section here, it will do nothing. If I now start adding or clicking without Alt, you see that this moves with the mouse here. And it's not a static, how can I say, it's not a static band stuff. So if you move this band here, all the bands along with it or in the near position will also move, as you can see. So this is kind of a dynamic way to do equalization, and it's really cool just to see this. And you can really change the way your track sounds. And you can also do this for panning. So let's say that I want to do, for some reason, my low frequencies, I want to make them left. And I want to make the high frequencies only right. Something like that. You see now that I have the high frequencies only on the right and the low frequencies only on the left. So you can also play around with these effects here. It's a weird effect to listen to, but you can see the possibilities that we have with this plugin, and they are immense. And you can also send several parts. So if you want to send just the high frequencies to somewhere, you can do, let's say that I want to send to channel 1. You see that this is actually send only. We would have to go here. I don't know. Yeah, I have to see how the send works, but basically maybe sending to here, to section 2. Yeah, probably here. I would have to see this one. I'm sorry, I don't know this plugin too much yet, but I think it's a really cool plugin, and it can give you some really cool effects. So let me see some presets. Some, yeah, not so much, to be honest, but it has some presets here to play around with. Okay, I think that's it for today. Yeah, this is all the questions that I have, and yeah. So again, this was fun. I had some joy doing this live stream, and I will be doing these live streams every Saturday at around 6 p.m. GMT +2, which is the Berlin time. and I'm located in Stuttgart, Germany. So if you want to check out the time differences, you could Google it, and you will know where or what time is 6 p.m. GMT to me, what time is 6 p.m. to you, and so that you can join. Also, there will be a link in the description, and basically the idea of these live streams is so that you can ask your questions and I answer them here with video so that I can help you speed up your learning process in FL Studio and Studio One and also Ableton. Even though Ableton is not the DAW that I have the most experience, I can also answer some of the questions there. And I have a link in the description where you can subscribe to the newsletter, that you can post your questions that I will be sending every Friday. I will be sending an email with a form so that you can ask questions and you will have your questions answered here in the live stream. And those questions usually have priority compared with the ones in the chat. So if you come to the chat and you ask a question, I might not have enough time to answer all the questions in the chat. And I know that as this live stream starts to get bigger, some of the questions will be lost in the chat. So if you really want your answers question, the best way is go to the newsletter and subscribe. I will not be sending any marketing material. It's just information about the newsletter. And I see here a comment. Okay. I don't know what's the point of this comment. It's not related to music production, but it's fine. And yeah, I think that's it, guys. This was cool. I had fun today, and I think I will finish here. I still have some working out to do and some other stuff to do. So I will be doing soon, maybe next week, I will be posting a new video, a new tutorial where I will be remixing or remaking some of the legendary hip hop beats that some of the classics that we have in the hip hop world. So stay tuned if you want to see. This will be kind of a new series that I'm trying to that I will try to experiment with and to see if you guys like it. Yeah, I think that's it. My name is Tiago Duarte, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.